let me tell you a little bit about BetOnline. It remains your number one spot for NBA, MLB, MMA, boxing. It doesn't matter. Every single prop, every single play, every single point, it's all at BetOnline. When it comes to bets, when it comes to props, everything that you need is at your headquarters for sports betting. That's BetOnline. Head to the website right now, use your mobile device, sign up. There's no need to hesitate. BetOnline, where the game starts.
I hope you're ready to have your mind blown with the greatest health and fitness information on the planet.
Yes, bitch!
Welcome to the Mikey Likes You podcast, joined by the golden boy, Giorgio Crusofusinopoulos. And we were just talking about how I went on a rant on the last episode about how and not the carnivore diet, not animal-based diets, because I'm a big red meat proponent and a big red meat eater. But the people, the culture, drives me crazy. Because you're all assholes. And it's no different. It's just, you're wearing a different costume. It's no different than the assholes I grew up with who are vegan. You're just, it's same thing, just different costume. So then we got to talking about how there's this new movement where rice is unhealthy, but yet everywhere that lives longer than us and has higher quality of life eats ass tons of rice. India is so fucked up. They have none of the luxuries that we have, yet they still seem to have higher quality of life, reported higher quality of life, and they live pretty long. Let's not even get into Okinawa, Japan, Korea. And Giorgio saying, I think quite wisely, he said, well, maybe it's not the rice itself, it's different processed sugars and things. And I think that is a fair argument. My argument is Americans, it doesn't have anything to do with bread or sugar, or I think it's just overall lifestyle. It's just so physically draining. It's so spiritually draining to not sleep and argue all the time, and everyone's family structure is just filled with contention and shit. That's my take. I am not a scientist. I'm not an anthropologist in any way. This is based on just constantly, I'm 45 years old, so I got a couple generations under my belt of experience. I have a couple periods of time in America, and I'm a pretty personable, fun-loving, happy dude. And all I do is see people shitting on everybody else and being angry and contentious all day. All that you intake is anger and contention. All that you output is anger and contention. And everyone's staring at a screen and then not sleeping and not eating right. I don't think that makes for much good. I don't think that if you analyze the health markers of diets and training routines of people in 1955, it was probably pretty shitty if you just analyzed it from a purely objective standpoint of training and nutrition. But every one of them was healthier than we are. Even an average fat fuck in generations past was better off than someone who devotes themselves to fitness nowadays, because there was a lot more positive. There's a lot more positive. And I'm not someone who believes that the human brain should be limited in any way. You should feel that freedom to pursue what you want to pursue and do what you want to do and find the most out of life that you can. But at the same time, now it's almost like living in space. It's like floating in space because
you're telling me
it's liberating at first to have nothing but an open horizon. But after a very short time, you start to have no point of reference or any guidelines or anything. And it becomes incredibly depressing.
Odysseus had that problem.
Did he?
Lost at sea. No bearings. No true north.
Thank you. This is my Greek man giving me the Greek update. And look at Odysseus.
Distracted by sirens, false idols.
I mean, who amongst us hasn't been distracted by poontang?
I mean, it's a great allegory for the current modern man.
Odysseus. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's all my take on it, and I don't want to be too. I'm certainly not trying to be sanctimonious because I suffer. That's the only I almost am saying it as a out of a sense of camaraderie more than I am saying it from my own ivory tower. I also don't want to be too cutesy about it or too
demure.
More like I think a lot of times, especially online, people they get so idealistic with the way that they say these critical things as if I have some way of giving you a solution. I'm not providing any critique or solution. What I am saying is that if everyone's going to argue about the foods that are making us unhealthy, the training practices that are, or lack thereof, that are making us unhealthy, I do personally believe that actually the problem lies in a much more obvious and pervasive area, and that is just waking up and going to sleep and what happens in between. And lack of real meaningful relationships and lack of real connection to the things that we intake and see. Even on a very simple level, I was thinking about the other day how important it was for me to watch, if I found a show to be very entertaining. If I really liked Seinfeld, if I really liked Cheers when I was a teenager or a kid, how important it was for me to, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, man, my show's on. I really like that show. It makes me feel good. And I had a relationship with that time and that place. And now no one has a relationship. It's just like stuff goes out. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows that are just being put out and people crank it out. And you're like, I'll intake something at some point when I get to it. And while I'm doing that, I'm intaking other information on my phone. And there's no connection or relationship with anything that we do.
We haven't talked about that enough. The death of primetime and like the fall off effect of that. I feel like it did something to the family structure. Like,
yeah,
like weirdly, oddly enough, television, the devil at that point in time, but something about that 6 to 9 o'clock block.
I think that the relationship aspect that came with, for instance, my dad worked a lot and he traveled a lot. So I didn't have a lot of like, we had the Dodgers and the Lakers. That was our kind of thing that we came together to connect, to watch with. But we didn't have much in the sense of like TV shows, because it was very erratic when my dad would be home. But I can think back to a show that I wasn't necessarily all that pumped on, but I had a very meaningful relationship with my father through Murphy Brown, because it was a show about politics, and there was a couple conservative characters, there was very liberal characters, and they argued about things that were very germane to modern politics at the time, and it was very well written. And my dad and I would sit and we'd watch that, and I'd laugh, and he would, they'd make a Walter Mondale reference, and I'd be like, "What's up with that?" And he would explain it to me. So, and I have very little of that with my daughter, even though I make a very sincere attempt to try to develop those things. My daughter, and I think at my wife and I behind our encouragement, a lot of her favorite shows are shows that are 25 years old. She loves like Reba and Three's Company. She really loves it, and Addams Family, and so these are old shows.
Some would say they're like staples of American television, though.
They can be, and
Addams Family.
also like I've noticed my daughter she's kind of a weirdo. Not I don't mean that in an insulting way, certainly, but she's not. My daughter doesn't like very typical little girl stuff. She's very kind of eccentric. She likes artsy things. She likes really wacky things. She likes she gets very caught up in like expressing herself in very out kind of outlandish ways. So that being said, I don't want her to get too wrapped up in YouTube channels that appeal to that. I try to show her kind of off kilter things, and she loves it. You know, like when I showed her, she got into Wednesday, which a lot of girls her age are, and Wednesday's a great show. So then I showed her the Addams Family, and she's like, well, this is fucking awesome. It's amazing. And, you know, the Munsters and Three Stooges. She thinks the Three Stooges are fucking hysterical. They are fucking hysterical. But
has she seen the original Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
oh, she loves it.
I got a little bit of that energy from
She
her.
could watch it on loop. And yeah, that energy, that kind of peculiar, but she likes a lot, especially a lot of like Mel Brooks stuff. We watch Spaceballs 3 times a month. And
like absurdism almost.
She thinks anything where people put a lot of effort, much like her father, where people put a lot of effort into stuff that doesn't seem very serious, but people take it very seriously. And so she loves space. And I'm waiting for she used to watch South Park with me. Then she got to an age where I couldn't do that anymore because it'd be inappropriate. So I'm waiting for I'd probably be in another 5 years where I can bring that back in, but that's right up her alley. But right now she can't be hearing, you know, dick talk too much at 10 years old.
You can't sit on the same couch and watch that no.
No, I remember the moment because she was probably about 3 or 4, and I used to watch it with her all the time because I loved it, and it was a cartoon, and it was funny images, so she would like it. And then I remember the moment where I said, well, this is now inappropriate because she's starting to understand things, and it was when Caitlyn Jenner ripped her dick off. And it grew wings and started to fly away. And she's like, Papa, what? I was like, well, I guess we're not going to watch this show anymore. She looked, she's like, Papa, wait, I don't and I was like, you don't need to understand. We're not going to watch this anymore. I did not want to talk about South Park too much. I'm always happy to talk about South Park. But I did a whole rant. The entirety of an episode 2 episodes ago was called Lose Weight, Get Stronger. That was my rant. And that's the basis of how and why I train people, because that is what most people need to do. And I get very upset about the fact that most people, even if they're very motivated, even if they have the desire to make changes with their health and with their fitness, get caught up on so many molehills that they don't ever take any time or put any effort into the mountains. Here are the mountains. Get stronger, lose weight. You can't have one without the other. Most people are overweight. Most people are fat. Okay? And I don't mean that to be insulting. Most Americans are grossly overweight and have wildly high levels of body fat. What was considered someone overweight even 30, 40 years ago is someone who's like thinks that they're healthy in 2024. Men 30% plus body fat, they have no concept of the idea that they're overweight. Women 35% body fat, and they're like, oh well, I just need to get ready for the summer. Maybe I'll lose 5 pounds here and there. It's like no. Our body fat levels are extraordinarily high, and levels of muscle mass are extraordinarily low by and large. Now I'm not talking about the fringe fitness community. I'm talking about the average person in comparison to generations past. Male, female, old, and young. We are a high level of adipose tissue country. Got to lose weight, but we got to get stronger. Why do I say that? Because if we just Ozempic and cross country ourselves into losing weight, we're always going to be perpetually different size fat people. I mean that. It seems like a rough way of describing it, but being obsessive about the weight loss doesn't get us much, because it takes a very focused effort to lose the right type of weight and do it in the right way. One of the biggest fail safes you can do is if you're losing weight and getting stronger, things are going right. So people get so obsessive about I'm going to go run 3 miles, and then I'll maybe once or twice a week I'll do a couple push-ups. That's not exercise. That's not exercise that's going to be useful for you trying to make a better physique, trying to increase your health. What you need to do is get stronger in a very focused and a very methodical way. As you're doing that, you need to be losing weight. Because if you just focus on getting stronger, if you just simply focus on losing weight, you will just become a smaller version of a fat person, and might even become even fatter if we're looking at proportions. If you just focus on getting stronger, you're just going to become a gigantic, strong fat person. I mean, that's the basis of powerlifting. And it's true. I love powerlifting. I think it's a great thing. But when you take people who their main concern is greater leverage, greater increases in ability to move weights, being bigger overall is all that matters. That if you are going to catch a bigger fish, you're going to need a bigger fishing rod with thicker line. That's basic physics. And if you're winning competitions with your deadlift and your squat, you better be a bigger person. You don't really give a shit about other things. You're getting stronger, but you're also just becoming larger. But if you can do the things that you tactically need to do to get stronger while simultaneously losing weight, everything falls into place. So that is the thread of what people need to do. If you're looking to look better in the mirror in a certain period of time from now, in the future, you want to look in the mirror and be way more proud of how you look, get stronger, lose weight. So today's episode, I want to focus on some of the keys that you can use to get stronger. In a subsequent episode, I will do what some of the keys you can focus on to losing weight the proper way. When we're talking about getting stronger, it doesn't sound as vague as it actually is. Because do you mean stronger in body to weight ratio? Someone who can do 38 chin-ups instead of 10? Are you talking about someone who can deadlift more than the other person? Are you talking about strength endurance, or 1 rep max? All valid questions. I think when you're talking about changing the way your body looks and changing your health, you want to focus on a pretty specific rep range of getting stronger within that rep range with key exercises. The deadlift and the squat are the kings of strength exercises. This I will say, and this is where things start to get a little bit nasty. They're not for everybody. I do think they're excellent exercises. I've squatted and deadlifted nearly my whole life. But as a 45-year-old guy who also grapples and trains in martial arts pretty frequently, that level of lumbar stress has started to get to the point where I just don't do them anymore. If you are extremely tall, I don't necessarily think that it's a great idea for you to be back squatting and really putting in a lot of effort into. If you are, a pitcher, a college baseball pitcher, do I need you in a conventional deadlift loading up that much tension into your lower back? And no, it's probably not beneficial. You know what I'm saying? So there is a small section of society. Also, if you've never trained before and you're starting training in your 60s and 70s, I don't really think we need to be like, let's hammer those ass to grass squats and deadlifts. It's just not realistic. It's not probably as practical or as meaningful as right now you're listening to this, you're in your teens or your early or mid-20s or even in your early 30s and you're new to training. I think it's really, really responsible, and it would benefit you greatly if you learned how to, if you just got away from this sense of like, I'm going to chase the pump and do things that are actually, let's be realistic. Let's be honest with each other. They're kind of physically easy. A lot of the reason that people make excuses for not squatting and not deadlifting is because it fucking sucks. It's very hard. Systemically, your muscular system, everything is taxed to an extreme. You can be someone who trains very frequently, who does their bodybuilding split where they do leg presses and you do your rows on your machine and you're like, my hammer strength, I do one arm pull downs with my hammer strength machine and I'm getting so much stronger. I used to do 1 plate, now I can do 3 plates. And if you've never gotten into like 8+ reps in a squat with heavy weights, you never really trained, where your whole life ends. When I used to do high rep squatting, and I'm not like a world-class weightlifter by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm 170 something pounds. And I got to the point when I was in my late 20s, I was doing 315 for 20 with squats. And I was started at,
damn.
I knew, yeah, I was, and not only did I get tremendous leg growth and stuff like that, but I was so physically resilient to any type of outside force. I was so lean. I was so strong. Because you get to, when I started at, I think 245 was my 20 rep max at that point.
You get tired around 12 though.
That's the thing.
And then
you gotta find something.
At 16, you're dying and you don't think you can get 17.
Yeah.
Once 19 comes,
you get to 12 and you're like, well, you start making excuses.
Yeah,
like,
I'll do half. Yeah,
I'll stop here and I'll do a couple more sets of lighter weight, and then on Friday I'll come back, and then you have to. It gets hard. By 18, you're looking yourself in the mirror, wondering what happened. 19, you're like, okay, we're right here. Then you get to 20 and you're screaming and you rack the bar and your body falls to the ground. You're systemically done. And you wonder why everyone else goes, you only work out for 40, you do like 3 exercises and work out for like 35, 40 minutes. Dude, no, there's no way. Hey, look at your arms. Because after that, I do a couple pullovers and maybe like some chin-ups. I'm good. My body is pulsating and everything. And the same with heavy deadlift. You can get 4 or 5 reps with 3 times your body weight. You have no concept of how that feels.
you can't walk after that.
You cannot. I mean, right now, even just alone, a better example, because I already let you know I've gone away from that level of training. It's too hard on my body. But I have small calves naturally, right? So I've been training them really hard. So I've been training them. I do high reps. I do really high weight and everything. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, my calves. I ran hills yesterday. I went with a couple of friends who are competitive fighters, and we went and ran hills. I literally couldn't put socks on. That's how sore my calves are.
The Achilles tendon just rock hard.
I'm wearing my Vans with no socks because I tried to put on shoes, and I was like, "Whoa, I can't put on real shoes." I couldn't. I'm wearing shorts. I didn't want to come on. I know it's hot in Texas right now. I wanted to wear pants and a t-shirt and like a button up because I'm like, oh, I'll go do my podcast. I want to, and I was like, fuck that. That's how sore my calves are. So you can sit there and talk about how you do your circuit with your machines, and I do some push-ups and everything. Well, until you start really training, you don't know what it's like. And if you haven't done that, you need to start. Get stronger now. There is a narrow kind of area of people who they don't necessarily need to choose the deadlift and the squat. Okay, they can alter. I am one of those people. I've been training so long. My training history is extensive. I'm beat up, and I'm also engaging in a lot of other physical activity where I can't have my system be that fatigued. But I still want to get stronger. If you are in that category, if you're an athlete in a competitive sport where you can't compromise your body being that sore and that beat up, sure, okay, we can talk. Most of you who just want to look better in the mirror, go grab a belt, go get yourself a nice cheap weightlifting belt that fits, and start doing it. Learn. There's a million things on YouTube that'll teach you how to squat properly. There's a million things out there that'll teach you how to deadlift properly. You can find someone in your gym. Most guys and gals who actually know what they're doing are not only, I know it may seem intimidating because they have big muscles or they're lean or they're, they have a intimidating look. Most people who actually have achieved something in the physical fitness world, who actually know what they're talking about, are actually the most happy to help people out. If people really want to improve their physique, improve their health, the people who have done it, by and large, are usually the most willing and happy to help out because they know what it was like to be a noob and feel embarrassed and feel intimidated. And frankly, I've noticed that in any kind of walk of life where things are based around difficult stuff, the most helpful, the most meaningful people I train with are black belts. By and large.
That's racist.
Hello there. But would you not? Georgia, a much better grappler than I am. But would you agree that people who are really, really good can relate to not being as good as they want to be, and are more likely the people that are going to be?
Oh yeah, you have to start a novice somewhere, and they're usually a wealth of knowledge, so they can they understand things on a different level.
Yeah,
like when you can teach something, you learn it that much better. I think that's like a true understanding and mastery of it. So surround yourself with people who understand it and have been there and have experience. Buy a weight belt, because weightlifting is twice as much fun with a weight belt. Yeah. And when you get to pull it off after your set and throw it on the ground,
there is that.
It's magical.
It is like your gi, and for you out there, grapplers out there who gi and no gi, I enjoy training no gi more because it hurts less.
Yeah,
my fingers, they don't get all fucked up, but also like you feel like it's more brutal. It's like old fashioned grappling, like you're gonna mano a mano. But there's something about when I train in the gi still, and there's something you feel like a superhero. You have your gi on, and you tie your belt, and you're like, whoa, I'm gonna go to battle like a samurai, And there is something to that with the weight belt. I agree. There, even if you're a total noob. When you buy a properly fitting weight belt and you strap it on, you're like, okay, here we go. My warm-up is done. Now it's time to get real.
Puts you in the zone.
Yeah,
Same with
locks you
straps. If you're going to do cleans, I know some people don't like straps, but for me, I could always, something about my grip, I could just clean so much more. And when you pulled them tight, you're like, all right, here we go. And you just lock in.
And also straps, you can lift extraordinarily heavier weights with straps. Now, I don't use straps at all. I encourage people to do that. If your physique is all that matters to you, if you're a bodybuilder, you got to go get straps because your grip will give out way before your back will. Your grip will give out way before any pulling muscle will. Your grip will give out. When I do dumbbell rows, for instance, I got to the point where now I can do 10, 11 reps with 140-pound dumbbells. If I don't have straps on, I'm doing one rep. I mean, it's hard to just get it, and I get up and once I get it up to the top, my grip's about to give out because it's 140 pounds, But if I have straps, it's just
locked in there.
It's mostly my upper back. So, but I tried my best because my grip strength is very important to me. I try not to use straps. But if you just want to be jacked for the summer, go get some fucking straps, get your belt. Here's the thing. My point is get stronger, lose weight. Pinpointing these areas that make the body more appealing. It's man or woman, old, young. It's the hourglass, right? The thinning of the waist, not the hips, ladies. The thinning of the area around the belly button. The increased mass in the perceived area of the deltoids and the lats. And then obviously from the side for men, upper chest is very, very important, very masculine, forearms, things like that. But there's pinpoint hot areas that you want to increase at least the visual appeal of having larger areas there and then smaller areas in certain points. And that all comes from losing weight, getting stronger. You can do as many cable fucking laterals as you want and as many behind the neck machine presses as you want. You don't increase either your seated dumbbell overhead press or your standard old fashioned standing overhead barbell press. You're not going to get delts. Increase the weight that you can do that while you're simultaneously losing weight. You're going to get big, wide capped delts, and you're going to decrease the amount of the midsection. Men, you could do. I'm not saying I love body weight training. I do body weight training every single time I train in some facet. But if you're going to go home and you're like, I've been dieting and I've been training, I've been running, I'm going to go do my push-ups so I can have Arnold in his prime chest. Nah. Get strong, dumbbell incline press. Like when you can start doing over your body weight for 6 to 8 reps, that's when you're going to start to see a chest develop, that upper area. Weighted dips, things like that. You got to get stronger. So fine, and I will be putting on the Patreon a corresponding kind of breakdown of the exercises that are typically the ones that you should focus on when it comes to getting stronger. Look to that 4 to 6 rep range. Okay, a bodybuilder, just a pure bodybuilder usually trains in much higher repetitions for that volume and getting that sarcoplasmic growth. But a power lifter is going to train in much lower repetitions and try to increase that. But if you're increasing the weight that you can do in that 4 to 6 rep range, there's an argument to be made for things below the belly button. So leg training will be in a higher rep range because the composition of those muscles and things like that. I understand that, and I'll accept that. So if you're going to say upper body 4 to 6, lower body, let's say 6 to 10. You're constantly increasing the weight that you can do in those exercises for those body parts in that rep range. Everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work out. So, squat and deadlift, if you can. I do think that you should never be deadlifting more than 5 reps. Anytime you're hit your high rep conventional deadlift is not something that anyone should do. At some point, there's going to be a disproportionate amount of lumbar stress as opposed to the actual benefit of the exercise. So the deadlift, I always like to cap off at 5. That's conventional deadlift. You want to do trap bar deadlift, you can do high reps, you can do all that. It's fun stuff, okay? Or sumo deadlift. But traditional conventional deadlift should be capped at 5 reps. Squatting, higher rep squats are better. But it's got to be heavy higher rep squats. Like I said, about 10 reps, you want to look for that. If you can't squat or deadlift, these are the exercises outside of those two that you should always focus on. Chin-ups. Chin-ups and weighted chin-ups if you are strong enough to do so. Continue to grow the amount that you can do in a close grip chin-up. You're going to get strong biceps. You're going to get wide, thick back. It's a beautiful exercise. The dip. The weighted dip if you are strong enough to do so, okay? These are exercises that still at my level of training after 20 years, I still always try to focus on these exercises and work them into my workouts.
Weighted dips make you feel like a man.
Weighted dips make you have thick balls. You have thick iron balls draped around in between you. You're like, yeah, look at these ballzinis. It's a good point. But also, weighted chins make you look like a man too. Because you can do all the high rep, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but high rep bicep stuff because I want to grow the guns. When you can put a 90-pound dumbbell in between your legs and do 6 reps of chin-ups, like real chin-ups.
Starting with 90?
Boom, huh?
Just starting with a 90
No,
pound
but I'm saying most people start with body. You should start with body weight. It's fine. I'm saying when there was a
25, a 40, 90-pound dumbbell. Not even a plate.
No, there's a time and a place where I would get 3 plates. So that's 135 pounds. And I would have that and I would get 3 or 4 reps.
At what point do you just have the front desk lady strap onto your waist?
If she was hot enough, I would. Yeah, ho. That's what I would say. But that you're talking about highlighting the most important areas. Overhead press, Some people, A, find it intimidating, or B, maybe the structure of your body. I'm lucky. I'm a little power plug, okay? So I always found it very easy to get in that position where I could bring the bar all the way down to my clavicle and then press, and it never really bothered me. Some people have a very hard time with their thoracic area doing traditional standing overhead press. I get that. Seated dumbbell press. Overhead press, okay? These are the exercises, like I'm saying, that you should really try to focus on and increase the amount of weight that you can do in these rep ranges. Dip, chin, seated overhead press if you can't do the traditional overhead press, but opt for that if you can. Incline press or incline dumbbell press. And outside of that, let's move to the lower body. If you're not squatting, walking lunges and split squats, Bulgarian split squat, where your rear foot is elevated. Unilateral stuff, it takes a lot of the tension away from your lower back. When you're talking about the split squat, it takes pretty much all of it away. And you're going to increase your proprioception and your balance and strength within the feet when you're talking about the transitions, when you're doing single leg stuff, walking lunges. I love walking lunges. I like I said, I'm not against bodyweight training. I incorporate bodyweight training in pretty much every workout I do. But bodyweight training with no weight kind of pigeonholes you into not getting stronger. But if you start to get yourself some straps or put a barbell on your back when you get stronger and you're doing sets of walking lunges with 95 or 135 on your back, ladies, you have 25 on each side, ladies, and you get a barbell on your back and you start to do walking lunges, you can't walk the next morning. And your booty, you're talking about, I did my booty circuit with my band. Yeah, do that. Talk to me about the booty. Okay, guys, the same thing. Ronnie Coleman was a big proponent of walking. Of course, Ronnie Coleman, there's still videos to this day of him squatting preposterous weight a couple weeks out from a contest. But every leg workout he finished with walking lunges. It was kind of crazy too, because you'd see him, he put like 225 on and he'd do reps. He'd do like 50 reps without breaking. Be talking shit the whole time. Yeah, buddy.
Lightweight,
baby. He'd wear like these like tight like spandex pants too, and his thighs would just be like, what the fuck? So walking lunges or Bulgarian split squats or both, you can go back and forth. And Romanian deadlifts. So you have overhead press, chins, dips, incline press of some sort, and walking lunges, Bulgarian split squats, Romanian deadlifts. So that's 7 right there. And you can mix and match. But if you're constantly working and getting stronger in those, everything's going to be okay. Your body's going to look a lot better if you're consistently getting stronger in these exercises and you're losing weight. Again, I always try to say, because one thing that we have seen, I'm a very old-fashioned guy. I'm a very old-school guy, as you can tell by a lot of the things that I promote. But that doesn't mean we should overlook irrefutable new science, because science is amazing, and the technology that we're getting for analyzing different things, especially in the fitness world, is getting so fine-tuned and so beautiful. There were so many ideas about muscle growth and fat loss that just are simply not true, and science has been able to prove that. When you're talking about getting stronger, when you're talking about muscle growth, when you're talking about having a beautiful physique, there were so many ideas about metabolic development, about metabolic pathways, about stretch-mediated growth, about muscle damage and then being built back up, your micro tears. None of it's true. Muscle growth, hypertrophy, is completely dictated by mechanical tension. The amount of mechanical tension you can apply to the muscle that is being trained, if you can increase that going on, that is what creates the idea of hypertrophy. That is what creates growth in muscle. That is what creates preservation of muscle in a caloric deficit. Mechanical tension. What that means is the amount of mechanical force that muscle is able to develop. So you can be sitting there talking about like, well, I do my leg extensions, for 30 reps, and it starts to burn. If you're not getting to the point where you're doing that leg extension in a rep range where you literally can't move it any longer. You're pushing as hard as you possibly can. And then you get to the point where as fast as you can move it is completely slow and you can no longer move any longer. That is, the mechanical tension has developed to a point where now the maximum amount of force that muscle can develop has been achieved. If you are able to increase that as you go, that is where hypertrophy comes from. So this is why I double down on strength, developing strength. Okay, if you can work, let's say you're starting tomorrow, you're taking my advice, you're going to go out tomorrow, you're going to do it, and you get under there and grab your dumbbells, you're going to do your overhead press. Okay, you have your 30-pound dumbbells, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, here we go, one more. And you're pushing as hard as you can, and you can't move it. Okay, you got 4. As soon as you can take that same weight and get 5. Now you know you've increased the amount of mechanical tension and you're going to develop those areas. When you get to 5, then you go, okay, one of these days, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next workout, I'm going to get to 6. When you get to 6, then you go 5 pounds heavier and you start all over again. And that's how you continue to increase mechanical tension. And I want you to do that with all exercises, that 4 to 6 rep range for upper body movements and 8 to 10 for lower body movements. And you continue to develop the amount of mechanical tension that you can in that way. And that's how you do it. All right? I don't know where Giorgio's going. I think he's going to go work out right now. I pumped him up so much. All right. And that's all. Please follow, like, subscribe if you're interested in the show. And remember, in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares, I do. Be good.